and
This
needs no
conference will
introduction.
now be recorded.
So I'm not going to drag it out. Ryan's with Brainswell Media and has been a guest of ours for several conventions and midwinter conferences. So I want to welcome everyone who's here today and turn it over to Ryan.
I appreciate it, Lane. Thanks so much. And you may have heard us talking a little bit there. I caught COVID in November. And so I'm one of those people that's carrying the antibodies and ready to kind of get back to it. But I recognize, friends, as we talk about this conversation today, everybody's coming at the advertiser circumstance and situation with different trepidations, different levels of concern, different levels of fear. And I think one of the biggest things that we can take away from our conversation today is this. There has never been, friends, in statistical history, in my opinion, a better time than right now to advertise. I can't think of a better time. There's a lot of things that are in play here that I think are very important for all of us to make a note of. And that is that with what's happening with the social media platforms out there, you've got 70 some odd million people out there in the country that are not happy with the way that social media has treated either their candidate or themselves. Let's not talk politics today. That's just a fact. So, these folks that are out there saying, hey, Facebook is where it's at to advertise. We're going to talk about it today because it's important for them to recognize that what newspapers and magazines do, what we do, is help them stand out from the crowd. We help them be different. We help them differentiate themselves from everybody else in the community. And it's not that they shouldn't do Facebook. It's not that Facebook is an important part of their marketing plan, but they have to recognize, and we have to help them with that, recognize that this is a great time to advertise. Another reason it's a great time to advertise. There is a misconception that those that got their stimulus check are going to spend it on things important like bills. I heard an expert this morning on an undisclosed news network say that actually the vast majority of people, when they receive their stimulus check, will spend it on things that make them feel good. They make them feel good. And I know the reason why. Let me look at my board, my little cheat sheet here. I've got all kinds of whiteboards around my office when I'm selling. 74% of buyers, advertisers that we've talked to, up 9%, 74% are buying from an emotional point of view right now. 21%, as of last week, we do this every week, buying from a logical perspective. 5% from an ego. So where do all these numbers come from, and why is it important to all of you in this business? So every Friday, I coach about 100 different sales reps every month, depending on the month, and some teams. And on Fridays, they report back to me, what types of people did you meet with this week? What was the most prevalent personality type that you met with? And even as of last week, up 9%, 74% of advertisers that you're going to meet with are emotional in one perspective or another. It's a great time to advertise. People have their stimulus check. Experts are telling us they're not spending their money on things that are important like they should. They're spending it on things that make them feel good. Interesting. Facebook, big black eye right now. A lot of people out there not happy with Facebook, and so they're putting their ad dollars other places. And as we walk through this today, a lot of it is really about just really understanding how we can best communicate with all the folks that we're dealing with, our advertisers that help pay our bills. All right, so I recognize some of you don't know who I am. So very, very briefly, my name is Ryan Dohrn. Thanks for having me here today. My company is Brainswell Media. I work with publishers of newspapers and magazines, radio, TV, etc. And I train salespeople just like all of you. Now, when I originally wrote the book Selling Backwards, I'd only trained 3,000 salespeople. Well, now I've had the opportunity to train over 30,000 salespeople since writing that book in 7 countries. I work with community newspapers, large and small, all across the country. Adams Publishing Group, one of my biggest clients, all across the country. Groups like that, Western News and Information covering the West, Ogden newspapers covering the East Coast, etc. 350 hours of virtual training in 2020. And I've had my fingers in $500 million of revenue. I should have got paid commission on that. That would have been smarter. And I've spoken about 1,000 times to groups just like yours. And I remember our last visit, as I mentioned to Lane, to Jackson. Been to Jackson, Mississippi many times. Been through Mississippi many, many times. I'm broadcasting today from Beach Island, South Carolina. So hopefully, welcome to our SEC brethren on the line. Nothing that I've done has been anything other than media sales. In college, 19 years old or 18 years old, wherever it was. First job, advanced publishing in Chicago. Done nothing but local media, national media, TV, radio. Loved the radio business. I got my MBA in media publishing from a gentleman named Billy Morris in Augusta, Georgia. People say, is that a real MBA? I said, sure feels like a real one. Love the publishing business and love to talk sales. That's where I spend my time. As a matter of fact, I love sales so much. I don't know of another sales rep that has this license plate on their car. It's a license plate from my car. People say to me all the time, what is AD sales? What is that? That's ad sales. This is how dense people are. What is AD sales? That's ad sales. See if you agree with me on this. If you can sell an ad in a newspaper or a magazine, if you can sell an ad, you can sell anything, right? And we're going to talk about it today. How do we reignite these conversations with our advertisers that are saying things to us like, COVID has killed my business. I don't have any money. I can barely pay the bills. How do you expect me to advertise right now? I'm a boat, a marina, somebody like that. I can't even get inventory in play. So we're going to talk in detail about that. But after we're done today, we're going to still keep talking. So if we're not connected on LinkedIn, look me up on LinkedIn, Dohrn. Let's be sure to connect there. If you're a Facebook person, let's connect there. If you're a tweeter, let's connect there. All kinds of training. This does not have to be the last day this year that we talk together. Lots of free information. 360adsales.com. That's where you'll find it. Webinars, the blog, the podcast, all that kind of stuff. All right. Idea number one for you. And if you got questions, put them in the chat box. All right. Number one, you've got to control the narrative. If we're going to be successful in reigniting our businesses, and left this out, I sell media every day. All right. I'm responsible for $1 million a year in sponsorship, media related sales, media, local media, radio, podcasting, newspapers, you name it, about $1 million a year. We have to control the narrative. We need to be saying things like reboot, replan, relaunch, rebound, bounce back, help you get back on track. If we don't control the narrative, somebody else is going to control the narrative. There was a person at some time that said, nobody reads the paper anymore. Who was that person? Let's find them. Let's hunt them down, right? You've got to control the narrative. My hope is really simple when I'm talking to an advertiser. My hope is simple. I would love to help you recover a portion of what you lost since COVID hit. Now, thankfully, Mississippi, here in South Carolina, Georgia, we are moderately some level back to business depending upon the community. I recognize as you get more towards the coast, there might be more things open or shut down depending upon your municipality, your region, etc. But the conversation nonetheless is controlling the narrative. There's a thought out there amongst advertisers, and the thought is that everyone is doing what they're doing. It's not accurate. Everyone's not doing what they're doing. If they're not advertising, they think that nobody's advertising, and it's not true. We have advertisers that are with us. We have advertisers that have stuck with us, maybe not a lot, but we've had some that have stuck with us. So we need to talk about them graciously, ethically, in ways that make it just seem like we love these people and we want to spread that love to more businesses around the community. When you think about controlling the narrative, I also think it's very important. Point number two is you really want to be careful how you start those sales calls. When I'm calling somebody to set an appointment, I'm saying things like, how are you? While that opens a can of worms, it's really not the way to start the conversation with an advertiser. If we don't, number one, control the narrative. If number two, we're not careful how we start that call, man, oh man, can a sales call or just a phone call to set a meeting spiral out of control. So what are some ideas? I like to say things on the phone and in my email and things like that. Things like this. Hi, John, good news. Wow. I mean, don't we want some good news these days? Hi, John, good news. I've got some ideas to help you recover some of what you lost since COVID hit. Got a quick second? Hi, Jill. I've got some good news to share. We've got some new and affordable marketing ideas to really help your business bounce back. Would you have a quick second for some new ideas? My encouragement to all of you is there's not been a better time to advertise. Name it. After the Great Recession? Doubtful, because most people were flat out just broke. Right now, COVID, devastating as it is, I went through it. Those that think it's like the flu, I don't know if you had it. It was bad for me. It really kicked my tail. I'm still suffering today. I'm exhausted all the time. I have to take lots of vitamins to keep going. If we come to the conversation with some good news, it helps us deflect those folks that say nobody reads the paper anymore. The paper doesn't give me good ROI. I can't track the advertising. We'll talk about those objections here in a second. Good news. We've got good news to share. Here in a couple seconds, I'm going to sell you on the categories, or I'm going to tell you the categories to sell you on the categories that should be raging right now for your publication. We'll talk about it in a second. Control the narrative. Be careful how you start these conversations. Come to a point of positivity. Remember, friends, if someone starts the conversation negative and then you jump on that negative bandwagon, guess what the conversation becomes? A pity party. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be sympathetic. We should. But be careful how deep you want to get into that pit of negativity, because a lot of times it's hard to get out of it. Idea number 3 for you today: reigniting these COVID conversations with advertisers that have gone dark on us. You want to be prepared for the 3 most common objections you're going to get. Now, there's about 20. We only have time for about 3 today and everything else that we're doing. And somebody privately asked a question. Will they get a copy of this? Absolutely. What I'll do is I'll send a copy of everything from today, along with a recording to this. I'll send that over to Lane. He'll be sure to get that out distributed to all of you. Glad you're here. Take some pictures. Take some screenshots as well. Happy to supply it to you. I'm here to help. Objection number 1: I have no budget. All spent. Ryan, COVID has devastated my business. My budget's all spent. My response: what about Bob the Builder? What about Julie's Interior Design? What about Brandon's Bait Shop? And then you've got to be quiet. You've got to let them take the next step in the conversation. If you don't, quite honestly, you're driving the conversation. It's not going to work out for you. Let them talk. I should actually put a little stop point in here that says, shut up and be quiet. Let them take the next step here. What about them? So I've got no budget. Well, what about Bob the Builder? What about Julie the Interior Decorator? What about Brandon's Bait Shop? The advertiser says back to me, what about them? I truly feel that your absence is their opportunity. They're seeing some great results after several months of marketing with us through COVID. How about I quickly show you some marketing ideas that are really working for your fellow business owners here in our town, in our community. Now, I recognize you might not have 20 advertisers running with you right now, but you got a few. There's enough smart marketers out there that have kept running with you. So you want to talk about them, sing their praises, talk about how much you love them. You want to be gracious in sharing, ethical in sharing, thankful in your sharing, honest in your sharing. I love to talk about advertisers. I love to pull out that paper and point to the advertisers. I want FOMO to be in full play. What's FOMO? Fear of missing out, in case you didn't know. Hashtag FOMO, fear of missing out. People believe that others aren't advertising because that's the decision that they made. They look at advertising as fat, not as muscle. They think of advertising as a luxury, not a necessity. Successful businesses recognize, and the Small Business Administration backs us up, successful businesses will spend 5 to 7% of their sales the next year on marketing. Well, in 2019, my sales were 0, so I guess I'll spend 0 on marketing. Bad math, friend. Where did you go to school to get math like that? Clemson? Where did you not? I'm kidding. Kidding. It's a joke. Sure, we offended somebody there. They do have a good football team. I'm just a big Gamecocks fan. How about I quickly show you some marketing ideas that are working? If you're not laughing, it's not my fault. You got to have some fun today. How about this objection from those businesses, those businesses that were deemed essential? A lot of businesses were deemed essential, especially those in the exterior business, roofing, HVAC, exterior siding, painting, landscaping. I'm good. Good as in, and then shut up and be silent. Let's take a side road for 30 seconds. What is one of the biggest problems that most sales reps have? It's in red, second sentence here. You don't know how to be quiet. You don't know how to shut up and be silent and let the advertiser drive the conversation. You feel like you got to be the driver. I know why it is that so many of you sleep with a fan on in your bedroom or a noise machine at night. because when you stop talking, your ears ring. You can't stand sleeping in silence. You're used to constant noise because we're running our mouths all day, right? I'm good. Good as in, oh, we've got enough business over here. Great. Sounds like we need to move you from a new customer marketing plan to a thanking your customers plan. I mean, you do want to thank your current customers, right? You do want to thank those people that helped you get through COVID and kept your business running, right? It's pretty hard for them to say, no, I don't want to thank my customers. It just doesn't sound right for them to even say that. So that's why I like this approach. Again, let's take a little side road, little dirt road here for a brief second. Most advertisers see us as a mechanism to bring them new business. Okay, that's what they see us as. What they don't do is they don't see us for what we also do, which is drive engagement and drive loyalty. They see us as the proverbial one-trick pony. That's what they see us as. Well, when I want new business, then what I'll do is I'll advertise. We're so much more than that. We're not a one-trick pony, or as some would say, a one-horse pony. We're a one-trick pony. We're not. We bring in new business. That wasn't meant to be political, just funny. Okay. We bring in new business. We also help drive engagement. What do I mean by that? We help your current customers remember that they should be engaging with you. Maybe they need to come back to your restaurant. They should be getting their hair cut again. They should be getting their tractor serviced again. So we do acquisition of new customers. The second thing is engagement. And the third thing is we drive loyalty and retention. We don't talk about it enough. Some advertising is about protecting your turf. And we'll talk more about that here in just a brief second. Okay, next objection. My Facebook page worked great for me. You know, we could do an entire webinar on nothing but objections. As a matter of fact, just an hour ago with a newspaper group in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, we spent an entire hour on nothing but these objections. Maybe it's another webinar. There you go. There's a pre-sell. My Facebook page works great for me. My response, I love to hear that you believe in marketing on social. We love social media too. Not really, but the issue is that nearly every business is competing for eyes on Facebook. So what are you doing to stand out from the crowd? What are you doing to stand out from your competitors? What are you doing to be different? Everybody's doing Facebook. Now, I think you also could share a couple of other tidbits with them, and you can get away with this more where we live than in other parts of the country. Now, again, don't talk politics. You could say something like, think about this. Facebook has a negative stigma to them right now. 70 some odd million Americans, a great majority of them that voted for the former president are real cranky with Facebook. As a matter of fact, we see it in the statistics. Active users has gone down on Facebook they've gone down in record numbers. How do I know that? I'm on the shareholder calls. I made the investment in Facebook when they first launched at the IPO. Worst investment I've made. My wife invested in Pfizer at the same time, same amount of money, and she's made bank on it. Facebook, not so good. What they're noticing now is that users aren't deleting their accounts. They've just stopped using their accounts. I think it's a conversation you can have without getting political, don't you? I think you can. Depends on how you frame it. Also, though, I think that people confuse Facebook with digital. They confuse social and digital. Now, is social media digital advertising? Technically, the answer is yes. But social is different than digital. Digital is running ads on our website, participating in our e-newsletter, buying other digital products from us. Social and digital are the same, but they're different. Social is social. Social is going to be Facebook, Instagram, and that's about it. Most folks are not going to advertise on LinkedIn or Snapchat most of the time. Digital is e-newsletter. So you could ask them to clarify. So when you say Facebook, or if they said to you, I'm only doing digital, do you mean Facebook or do you mean digital? Facebook. Oh, okay, great. Facebook's awesome. Let me tell you about our other digital opportunities. If you love digital, talk about that. But I don't think you want to just completely dump on Facebook all the time. I think you just want to face the facts about Facebook. And that is, it's real, people use it, but it's not the only marketing solution. Get ready to take this down as a note. If Facebook was the answer to all things marketing, Coca-Cola, etc., they'd never run an ad in the Super Bowl. They would never run a newspaper radio ad. Companies like Coca-Cola would just do Facebook. That's all they would do. Now, I used to give the example of Budweiser. Budweiser, for the first time, and as long as I can remember, will not be running an ad in the Super Bowl. I think the reason they're not doing it is not because of a monetary thing. I think they're looking to stand out from the crowd. I think they're looking to create a conversation about the fact that they're not running their ad. And guess what? It's working. Because if they ran their ad, they would have still been the king of beers, even though they're not owned by anybody in America anymore. They'd still be the king of beers. It's not because they don't believe in the Super Bowl. I think that they just realized they could get more by not running an ad because people will talk about it. Personal opinion. I don't think they think it's worthless. As a matter of fact, we're going to see a lot of people watching the Super Bowl. Now, there's a lot of controversy about that. A lot of folks believe they don't like that Budweiser didn't like the teams in the Super Bowl and don't think it'll draw a crowd. I don't think that's true. I'm not a fan of either of the teams, and I'm going to watch. If nothing else, I'm going to watch for the good commercials that are going to be playing, if nothing else. And just to see if Tom Brady can pull it off again. Tom Brady. All right, number 4 for you. Not all marketing is about new business development. So if someone says to me, Ryan, I've been in business, been in this market for 25 years. I don't need to advertise. My response, what about protecting your turf? Normally, the advertiser will then say, what do you mean? My response to them can come in many different colors, many different flavors. I could say, I imagine, sir, or madam, I imagine, ma'am, that you've spent thousands of dollars getting your business to where it is today. Yet I don't see you spending a lot of money protecting your turf against competitors that might pop up. During COVID, people have lost their jobs. They're starting new businesses. I mean, who would have thought what Amazon has done to the local businesses out there? Amazon has decimated a lot of local businesses. Did we not learn our lesson from what Walmart did to small town America about protecting our turf? Again, advertisers see us as the proverbial one-trick pony. All we do is bring them new customers. That's not accurate. We do 3 things. Bring in new customers, help your customers remember to engage more deeply with you, and we help drive loyalty and retention for your brand, your business, etc., to help you protect your turf. Now, you could say, sounds like we need to move you from bringing in new customers to thanking the customers that you've got. Let's use your 5-star Google review and create some testimonial ads that we can run in the paper. Protect your turf. Here's what's interesting. Because of COVID, people have lost their jobs. Some have lost their jobs. And, different than the recession impacted everybody pretty much universally. COVID impacts different areas, different people in different ways. So COVID is a different play out there in the business community. It's not the same as the recession of 06, 07, 08, 09, which we did recover from as media companies. COVID's a little bit different. We can use the Google reviews in these ads to drive loyalty, to drive brand engagement, to help people protect their turf. I would say this. We did a study of 10 brands, and we backed it up with some eMarketer information. About 25% of a small business's budget should be spent on brand maintenance, about 25%. We got 2 studies to prove that. Wait a minute, what's this brand maintenance thing, Ryan? I like that. Well, you know how sometimes advertisers and us as reps will talk about branding? Well, branding has got a negative connotation to it. Branding, for a lot of people, means run an ad and not expect a whole lot from it. It's branding. Run an ad, blah, 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 run an ad. Well, brand maintenance sounds different and plays different. Brand maintenance means you're getting something, you're doing something with that branding campaign. Jot it down. Take a note on this. Talk about it, friends. Brand maintenance. Maintaining your brand. It's more than just branding. It's investing money in your business, in the maintenance of your business. The nature of the word maintenance means you're getting something for it. How about this? A challenge for you. You want a challenge today? A challenge for you. And that is, let's not talk about branding. Let's talk about brand maintenance. Not branding. Let's talk about brand maintenance with folks. See, I like to use this as an example. And because all of our neighbors and friends understand what NASCAR is, we can give them this example. It's always more cost effective to stay out front. It's always more cost effective to lead the pack than to fight from the back. And during COVID, it was a quote that got picked up by a couple of news outlets, and I got featured and got interviewed on this concept. And I realized that people didn't understand NASCAR. So the NASCAR effect is real. A business that stays out in front, sure, they're burning a lot of fuel, keeping their pedal to the metal. And sure, you as another business can draft behind that front car. But I know that anybody that's ever touched a NASCAR, a race car, even ridden a bike will tell you that, sure, you can draft behind somebody and save a little time, effort, and energy. But let me tell you something, when you're at the back of the pack and all of a sudden you realize I need to move to the front, it is really, really hard to do it. It's pretty darn rare that somebody spins out, gets hit or whatever, and ends up at the back of the entire field of 21 or whatever it is, and then fights their way back to the front. It has happened, but I mean, anybody will tell you that. It's very difficult to fight from the back. It's almost always more cost effective to stay out front. You have to burn so much fuel and time, effort, and energy to fight your way back to the front. Important piece. Hey, if you got questions, chat them across. I'd love to answer your questions about anything. Life, sales. I've been married 26 years. Maybe need some marital help. No, I'm kidding. We're not going there today. Not going there today. All right, idea number 5. Recognizing the marketing gap and what it is, and it's real. The marketing gap is real. All right, so Acme is the name of the company that I'm talking to. And Acme, during COVID, turned their marketing budget down. Let's say they took it, as an example, from $1,000 a month to $500 a month, just as an example, cut it in half. Now, Acme's nearest competitor, racing towards that finish line, they didn't cut back their budget, or maybe they only cut it back from 1,000 to 800, as an example. Well, what happens is, just like in a race, if somebody's got their foot on the accelerator halfway and the other person has their foot on the gas almost all the way to the floor, they continue to leave that other car behind. A gap has been created. If I notice a gap has been created between one competitor and another during COVID, it's my responsibility as a salesperson, as a media advisor, as a media advisor, to point out this gap. My goal is simple, Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser. My goal is simple. I want to help you recover a portion of what you lost during COVID. I know that things aren't exactly back on track, but you turned your volume down to almost nothing. Your nearest competitor kept right on going. A marketing gap was created. I can help you fill that void, but you can't ignore the void. The void is there. I can help you, but a marketing gap has been created. Friends, I think we all would recognize out there in our communities that marketing is a lot about perception, as it is about more than it is reality. Because I can advertise out there my business, call myself number one, even if I'm not, call myself the biggest, baddest, and best, even if I'm not. The perception is what we do. We drive something called the perception familiar factor. We drive the familiar factor home to people. Marketing gap is real. If you turn the volume down to 5 and Acme turns it up to 11, a marketing gap is going to be created. It's a simple volume conversation. Acme's marketing is kind of like a small little, speaker, and Acme's competitor is like a double barrel megaphone. How do you overcome it? Turn up the volume. But recognize that marketing gap is real and explain it and show it to your clients. Ethically, honestly, graciously, talk about others. One of the worst things you can do in my business, in our business, in selling media is to not talk about other advertisers. You need to talk about who's out there marketing. You've got to help your folks understand that they're the only ones not doing it. There's a lot of people out there in the marketplace. So just think about it. All right, number 6, buyers have been putting things off. Maybe they've been waiting for the stimulus check. Maybe they're waiting to get a job back again. Maybe they've just been putting it off. Facts are facts. It's the perfect time to advertise. Now, if you joined us late, there was a bunch of different information shared this morning on the news about what people are doing with their stimulus money. Now, my son in the Navy, he received his check. It went right into the bank. Nothing he can spend it on over in Bahrain. Well, I mean, I guess there is, but he's on a boat off the coast of Somalia hunting pirates at last check-in with us. But most people are spending money on things. And when you think about, these are the categories here that are important for us to focus on. So this is data from Pulse Research. There's an email address there on the screen. Take a picture of it. Reach out to our friend, Sammy at Pulse Research, and he'll put you in touch with this data. He'll give you access to most of the data for free for the first few months. So reach out, kind of figure it out. All right, private tutors, big category spike, 175%. Private tutors, their business is booming right now. Maybe there's some advertising. There are landscapers, grocery stores, specialty food markets, yard equipment stores, big spike there. People are wanting to buy things to get out in the yard, even though it's cold for us here. People still doing that kind of work. Bottled water delivery services. Do you have them in your town? Great time. I don't know that we can get bottled water delivered, but anyway. Grocery stores, wine shops. Wow. Yep. When times are good, you drink. When times are bad, you drink. Wine shops, liquor stores. Are they advertising with you? Tutoring centers, if you've got them in your area, great one. Here's one I'd love for you to look at, home healthcare providers. We have an interesting trend happening across the United States, and that is that people being put into sort of quote unquote, if you will, nursing homes. It's not as common as adult communities. And home healthcare right now is showing a incredible spike in advertising dollars. So are you talking to home healthcare companies? Now, don't just give up on yourself, because a lot of times people say, yeah, I tried to call them. Well, what'd you say? You know, what was the conversation like? What'd you say? What'd you do? I mean, what did it look like? What did it sound like? Did you handle the objections well? Home cleaning services, big rise there. So if you know of some of them, that might be good. Plant nursery, gardeners, mortgages. Mortgage brokers right now should be advertising. Well, they have too much business. They don't want to advertise. Well, I don't know many mortgage brokers that turn down business, but I just refied here in South Carolina for 2.33 on a farm. Talk about saving me some money. New sporting goods, wholesale goods, building supplies, mental health. Mental health is a sad but true reality of categories. And that is, are you working with counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, family counseling, marital counseling? You know, I'm a big fan of being married. 26 years. I'm kind of tough to be around. I'm a big fan of being married, but it is stressful. So those are people you want to be talking to. Are you advertising right now? I guess we can skip marijuana. I don't recall that it's legal in Mississippi or South Carolina. Daily newspapers on the rise, which is great. It's a great number to know that people are buying more papers. Why are they buying more papers? Because universally, the latest ad trust study, like 80% of people don't trust mainstream news anymore, national news. So they're looking for daily papers. I'm not saying national daily. My understanding of that number is it's not national daily as much as it is just daily, just newspapers in general. Carpet cleaning, big area to focus on as well. So there's some of your categories. Reach out to Sammy and get that information if you don't have it, and get into their portal and check them out. I think you'll really find that to be helpful. All right, number 7, you really have to help advertisers help themselves. They don't know how to market their business. Some of them don't even know how to keep their own doors open through COVID. Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, never assume that people know the best way to engage with you. Most people need to be led. See, a lot of times what advertisers want to do is they want to run the same ads in 2021 that they did pre-pandemic, at the beginning of 2020. You can't run the same ads, because what we know for a fact from Pulse Research is that 60% of citizens don't know what a local business is doing. They just don't know. And that's why it's a great time to advertise. Let me give you an example. We're big fans here around the Dohrn household of Japanese food. We like hibachi chicken and teriyaki chicken and that kind of thing. Well, there's a great place in North Augusta that has a great Japanese food. And so I placed an online order, went to pick it up. Nobody was there. charged my credit card, by the way, and nobody was there. Figured out when they would be there, called in to place the order, went and realized that they were open for business. Like you could go dine there. Didn't realize that. Went back 3 days later to take my wife and son there, and they weren't open for business. It's all over the place. 60% of citizens don't know what local businesses are doing. It's a great time to advertise to make sure that people know what in the world is going on. Here are the facts. The facts in play are this. Customer attitudes pre-COVID. Did people fear for their safety in going to a business? The answer is no. Post-COVID, the answer is yes. People do fear for their safety. Even if you're not a mask-wearing type person, that doesn't matter. People fear for their safety when they go to unknown environments. Pre-COVID, was there stranger danger in play? Not really. I would engage with a business even if I didn't know them. Not that big of a deal. Now that COVID's in play, stranger danger is real. I've never done business with that company before. Should I try it? Should I do business with them? What are they going to do to keep me safe? Now, you got to set your personal beliefs aside because you might be one of those people that's like, you know what? I don't believe in masks. I think a mask is like trying to catch a mosquito with a chain link fence. I don't believe it. That's up to you. It's your opinion. I've got my opinion. We might be the same opinion. I'm not going to state. But recognize, friends, that the data is clear. People do feel danger when they engage with a business they've never engaged with before. Advertising solves that problem or helps. Overall trust. Pre-COVID, trusting a business. I'd have no reason not to trust them. So let's do business together, right? Post-COVID, overall trust. People, they're not going to trust a business they don't know. Advertising helps with that. How about the need for a product or service? Pre-COVID, at any given time in any given category, about 5% of our readers would be prepared to do business with somebody in that category, about 5% at any given time. That's it. So look up Vorsight Consulting. A guy named Steve Richards did a nice study on it. Post-COVID, though, people are ready to get back to business in some capacity. Every community is different. So when you think through this, friends, you got 15% of people saying, hey, instead of 5%, 15% of people saying, hey, I've got some money, I'm ready to spend it. Maybe you don't have the money, but the facts are the facts. And we've got to understand that what Dr. Adrian Broden from Wake Forest said about this phenomenon. People are wired to dismiss facts that don't fit their viewpoint. Adrian Broden, Wake Forest University, look it up. Google it if you want the source for it. Humans are hardwired to dismiss facts that don't fit their viewpoint. Have we not seen this resonate throughout the news, no matter which side of the aisle you happen to fall on? Fact, people are ready to engage with businesses. Fact, 60% of people don't know what local businesses are doing to keep them safe. Fact, 62% of customers say special pricing would influence them to come to the table, to come to visit that business. 62% of customers. So what is the point that we're trying to get across? The point is you have to help advertisers help themselves. They just don't know. They don't know what to do. So you got to help them. Help them with the creative, help them with the spec ad, help them with the design, help them understand that people are ready to engage, but also help them understand that advertising is not instantaneous. They might need to change the message when they're talking to current versus new customers. They might need to create some loyalty programs. 62% of customers say that special pricing would get them to the store. They might need to offer payment plans. They might need to be proactive with the things they're doing. They need to advertise in multiple ways on multiple days, and they need to do it in such a way that it makes sense. Here's the 3-step process of engaging with customers. Mr. or Mrs. Advertiser, in all of your messaging, you need to, number 1, state what you are doing to keep a customer safe. Our staff offers a sparkling clean promise. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds clean. Number 2, you need to tell your customers why the risk is worth it. Hey, these are savings like never before. We've never offered savings like this. Number 3, they need to tell their customers how to interact with them. Hey, you can do curbside, online, in person, we're wide open, whatever the circumstance is. 3 steps. If you help advertisers help themselves, they're going to buy ads from you. If you leave them to their own devices, They're not going to buy ads because they're going to think nobody else is doing it. Why should I do it? Or I ran with you before and it didn't work. Well, we can talk about that objection another time. Okay, number 8, your subject lines that you're using in your emails, they have to be revised and different. Here are the 5 or 6 that I use regularly that work really well for me. COVID business strategy. Great one, always gets me open. Business recovery strategy. If you're dealing with a sector of business, I'm not intimate with what's happening in Mississippi. I'm just imagining that you're moderately similar, to what we're encountering here. Customers next month? Question mark. It's a good one. New idea, COVID marketing. Now, people have said to me, oh, COVID is such a bad word. Why would you ever mention it? Well, you can't ignore it. Your competitive strategy. It's a good one. Moving forward, new idea. Now, remember, when I'm writing emails, though, I always want to make sure that I'm following Uncle Ryan's rule of 3 and 3. 3 words in the subject line, 3 sentences max per email. Call it Uncle Ryan's rule of 3 and 3. Or your buddy Ryan, rule of 3 and 3. 3 words in the subject line, 3 sentences max per email. But Ryan, some of these have 4 words in the subject line. Come on now. Sometimes you have to fudge a little bit in sales. The rule of 3 and 3. Important piece. Here's some examples. How about this? Hi, Jill. We're seeing some light here at the end of the old tunnel. Love to share with you some ideas as you look to reboot your business, look to grow your business in a post-COVID pandemic world. Sounds a little negative. Hi, John. I've got some good news to share. Our website traffic is really spiking over here at the newspaper. May I share some ideas on how we could work together as we get back to business as a community? Hi, Kathy. I see your competitor ACMS has relaunched their marketing efforts. Let's strategize about your bounce back plans. Let's strategize together. I also think you could say something like we said during the objections, which is, hi, Jill, Bob the builder, Julie the interior decorator, Brandon's bar have all been advertising with us, seeing some great results. Our website traffic is spiking. Let's get together and talk about what we can do to help you reboot, relaunch, rebrand, whatever your business. These are all templates. I save these templates into Outlook so I can recall them quickly, or Gmail's canned responses so that I can save them quickly. Work on these templates together. Figure them out as a team so that you can rinse and repeat things that are successful. Think about that. Identifying repeatable patterns of success is super important. Tom Brady did it. You can too. Identify things that work and repeat them. Now, one of the secrets in my sauce that I'd love to share with you is that voicemails do drive email replies, and that's pretty darn critical. So don't say your name first, okay? Ask them to reply to your email in a voicemail. So here's how it would go. Let's just say that I'm reaching out to my friend Lane. I'd say, hey, Lane, I sent you an email about such and such. If you could give me a reply to that, I would appreciate it. You don't have to call me back. Just give me a quick reply to that email and I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much. Oh, by the way, it's Ryan over here at the Daily Herald calling. It's not going to call you back, so why are you asking him to call you back? People don't call you back. Well, this one guy does. Oh, come on. Don't live your life by the exception. Live your life by the rule. Most people don't call you back. So don't ask him to call you back. Instead, use voicemail to drive an email reply. Trust me, friends, I would not share this advice with you if it didn't work. I promise you that. Number 9 of 10. Marketing is not the same as magic. It just isn't. When someone says, yeah, I ran an ad with y'all before, it didn't work. Tell me about that. Did you run one ad or 10 ads or? Yep, ran one ad. I'm so surprised this paper let you do that, because we have a 3 ad minimum, because we know that if you don't do 3 ads, it's not going to work. We have a 3 ad minimum. Really? Well, why'd they let me buy one ad? I don't know why they did that. Marketing is not the same as magic. I'd like to ask them, okay, so let me ask you this. What date in time do you think that you want to see some action, some activity from your marketing? Well, as soon as possible. Well, then what I like to do is I like to show them, what the buyer's journey looks like for somebody to buy their product or service. What does it look like? It is a science. Now you can get pretty clever with it. You can get creative with it, but there is a little bit of science to it. Let me share it with you very briefly. It won't take but a couple of seconds. Share my screen with them, print this out. So when someone sees an ad in our newspaper, what happens is the brain has got to decide which way to go. Do I have a need? If I have a need, then I go this way. If I don't have a need, then I go this way. This right here is called the no loop. Okay, this is the no loop. Doesn't mean your ad didn't work. Just meant that that person saw your ad, took the information into their head, said, I don't have a need yet, went on about their business. Saw your ad again next week, don't have a need yet, went about their business. Saw your ad the next week, went, and the brain said, nope, don't have a need, and kept right on going with their business. Then all of a sudden a pipe breaks. All of a sudden the pipe breaks and the brain says, oh, I do have a need. Rather than Googling Augusta, Georgia plumbers, I Googled universal plumbing. One of the things we do best is we help people not Google generic things, Google things that are specific. Once I have a need for a new TV, for example, so I'm going to go buy a brand new TV set. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is be socially influenced. Then I'm going to personally consider it. Then I'm going to doubt it. Is my wife going to be mad at me? And then I'm going to make the purchase down here. This is what we do. We influence this process. We also influence the no loop. But if you don't talk about the no loop, you're not going to get credit for the no loop. It's very important. You got to talk about the no loop. If you don't talk about it, you're not going to get credit for it. It's not that the ad didn't work. The ad just hasn't worked yet. Ads work. Advertising works. What's happening is our customers want instantaneous results. And that, my friends, we can't promise. We can't promise instantaneous results. We just can't. This is called the buyer's journey. Should you show this to your advertisers? Yeah, you should. Because friends, when you start getting credit for the no loop, now you've got a winning scenario on your hands. The problem is we haven't been asking credit for the no loop. Instead, we've let advertisers control the narrative, and they think when nobody responds, the ad's not working. The ad just hasn't worked yet. That's what's interesting. What's interesting also to me, I'm going to get rid of this TV that you see, this TV here. Don't worry about the TV. I just meant buying a new TV. Not somebody asked privately, are we suggesting TV ads? No, I just put that there like I saw an ad for a TV. My brain said yes. I went through that purchase journey. Print this out, draw for your advertisers, and friends, I think you'll have a winning scenario on your hands. See, here's what Nielsen tells us. What Nielsen tells us along the bottom here is that you need to see an ad 10 times before you're going to get the bump that's required to get good ROI. Dark blue line at the top is awareness. Bottom blue line is purchase intent. After 10 exposures to an ad, purchase intent and awareness go through the roof. Nielsen backs us up with it. Yes, you can use this if you want to print it out. A minimum of 10 exposures before people bump, before you get that bump. We've got plenty of data out there, friends, plenty of data. So here's what you got to ask yourself. What is your sales plan as we start wrapping up? You got questions, chat them across. We're going to be out of time here in a few minutes. What's your sales plan? What does it look like? What are the 3 things that you would take from this webinar today and potentially put into action? What do those 3 things look like? So when you look down this list, the first thing I want you to consider is this: controlling that narrative. Rebrand, reboot, get back to business. People are reading the paper. People do trust the paper. They just don't trust national media. Hey, be careful how you start that sales call. If you start with, hey, how you doing? More than likely, you've just opened up a negative conversation. Be prepared for those 3 most common objections. Maybe we do a whole webinar in the future here on every objection you're going to get. There's a lot of them, right? Remember, not all marketing is about bringing in new customers. They want that to be the case, so much so that that's what they believe. It's not true. What are the 3 things we do, class? We bring in new business. We help engage business to drive more deeply into your business, and we help retain customers for a lifetime. Bring in new business, engage new business, retain business. We're awesome. We're awesome out there. How about explaining the marketing gap? I think that's a pretty important piece. Buyers have been putting things off. and Facebook has kind of got a black eye right now. So the stimulus checks in play. I think we just got them. I think. I don't know, because ours went to something that we needed to pay for. Help advertisers help themselves. Guide that conversation. Use subject lines and that rule of 3 and 3 in your sales process. Recognizing that marketing is not the same as magic. Explain what the buyer's journey looks like. Ask for credit of the no loop. And then write out your plan. One of the worst things you can do is be random, friends. Randomness just kills sales. Don't be random. Have some type of plan in play, because if you don't, I think you're going to have a real problem on your hands. All right, friends. Well, thanks for your comments that you chatted through. Thank you to Mississippi Press and Lane for putting all this stuff together. What I'm going to do is send a recording of this, as well as a copy of all the notes that I shared with you, over to Lane, and he'll distribute it out. If you don't receive it, just reach out to him. I'm sure you have his email address. Thank you so much. Just remember, friends, if ad sales was easy, everybody'd be doing it. And they're not. So we're either crazy, which is possible, or we found careers that'll feed our families for a lifetime. All right, God bless you all. Get out there and sell something. If I could be of help, reach out. Ryan at ryandohrn.com, Dohrn. Head over to LinkedIn and let's get connected on LinkedIn as well. All right, take care, friends. We'll see you real soon. Good luck out there.